My name is Winston Husbands. I'm the Director of Research at the AIDS Committee of Toronto, and I'm involved in looking after the sort of research portfolio of the organization, which includes research studies, knowledge translation efforts, evaluation, and other things related to that as well. Well, I think it was the early 1990s, I became a volunteer at Black CAP, the Black Coalition for AIDS Prevention. I had a friend who told me at the time that about this organization that I'd never heard about before. So I just used to go and there to the office and meet people and look at pamphlets and stuff like that. And then I became a board member after a while, and that was really my first initiation to working in HIV, and that was, I believe, maybe in 1993 or thereabouts. I think, yeah. And then so that sort of ran its course, and then in 2001, I came here to the AIDS Committee of Toronto as Director of Research. The work that I've been involved in around HIV prevention, most of it does not actually have HIV prevention in the title. So I believe that it is important to sort of set the stage, to set the ground for HIV prevention. So it's not just about exhorting people to use condoms or whatever the case may be, but it's about engaging people in that discussion about HIV prevention, what that means, and what people's responsibilities are to themselves, their friends and family, and to their communities in terms of HIV prevention. So I think some of the more important work in HIV prevention that I've been involved in is, for example, some work that we did with Barry Adam maybe a few years ago among gay men in Toronto. I think that research really, set us thinking at the AIDS Committee of Toronto, certainly, and perhaps elsewhere as well, thinking afresh about the challenges and the potential of HIV prevention and new directions and new avenues for that work. I have also been involved in research with ACHO, the African and Caribbean Council on HIV and AIDS, related to HIV prevention. So, for example, the Mobwana Black Men study, I think it wasn't a study essentially about HIV prevention, but I think what it has done is to really improve the knowledge base related to HIV prevention for Black, gay, and bisexual men and other men who have sex with men here in Canada. There are two things that I would mention in terms of my work on stigma. The first is the African and Caribbean stigma study of, I believe it was 2006 or 2004 to 2006, maybe. I think that a lot of us had been talking about stigma in African and Caribbean and Black communities, how it was affecting the work we do and affecting communities here in Ontario. But this was the first study of its kind. And I think it has really helped us to think, not only researchers, but service providers, really think seriously about what it means to sort of address stigma in African and Caribbean communities. So out of that work, we actually developed a framework for addressing stigma in African and Caribbean and Black communities in Ontario. And we have since moved on to draw on that knowledge to try to develop interventions to address stigma. The other thing that I would mention is the ACHO's Keep It Alive campaign, a social marketing campaign that started in 2006, and it has continued in different phases until fairly recently. And one of the goals of that campaign was to attempt to reduce stigma related to HIV among African and Caribbean communities. And that was a large undertaking, developing a campaign of that nature, which has been award-winning, and I think that has gone from strength to strength over the years. But in the process of doing this work, I've also started thinking more generally, or perhaps more specifically, about what it means to produce knowledge in a way that is beneficial to the purpose for which that knowledge is being produced, which is to sort of generate a better understanding of what HIV is about, a better understanding of the challenges and also of the potential in our communities and in the work we do, and to help us think more creatively and constructively about the way how we respond to HIV. What I've learned over the while that I've been engaged in this work is that we have to think creatively about engaging communities rather than simply trying to tell people what they're doing incorrectly, or trying to just sort of point fingers and tell people what they should be doing. I don't think that that's very helpful. I think that, the greatest advances in people being able to really engage health and well-being is when the people on whose behalf we claim to be doing this work develop the critical understanding of what is holding them back, the challenges that face those communities, that face them as individuals and communities, but also of their potentials and strengths for moving forward as individuals and communities collectively. Well, I mean, I'm just a small part of the response to HIV in Toronto or in Canada or wherever. But I hope that at the end of the day, the kind of crisis that the world has experienced with HIV, I mean, it's probably not going to last forever, and we've already started to see some evidence that we're turning a corner. But I think that at the end of the day, perhaps years from now, I think that I would like people to appreciate that there was a big effort. I would like people to understand that people like me, had some role in the success that came to be. Because unfortunately, I think many times history is written in a way which tends to exclude some kinds of people and some kinds of efforts. And I just wanted to know that an organization like the AIDS Committee of Toronto, an organization like the Black Coalition for AIDS Prevention, and a person who and Black people like me, that we sort of came to the table, and we were thoughtful, we were creative, we were constructive, and we were dedicated. And that something happened at the end, which was good. Now, perhaps that's focusing too much on me and the organization that I work for and the organizations that I'm affiliated with. But I think that this tells us something about the human spirit and human progress, in that we never ever take things for granted. We always rise to the challenge. And this is exemplified now in the response to HIV worldwide. And, it will happen again in other challenges that people will face as time goes on, that people will rise to the challenge and that they will make a difference. In the future, I hope for a world in which HIV is not the kind of problem that it is today. I hope for a future in which, if to the extent that there might still be HIV among us, but not to the magnitude that we have it today, that somebody who becomes HIV positive will have access to all the supports, the treatments, and all of the other things that we know are important and crucial for managing HIV. That those kinds of divisions amongst us, which make some things available to some communities, some nations, or some types of people, and unavailable to others, that we would really have crossed that boundary. I would also hope that some of the things that we call social determinants, the things that really make people vulnerable to ill health or disease, that we would have found better ways of managing those things. So things like access to jobs and income and housing and those kinds of things, but also people being free from discrimination, from racism, from homophobia, from gender discrimination and so on, that we would have found ways of putting those things behind us, or at least managing them better, so that we will all be able to live the kind of life that I think we all, or most people, deserve, really. And if we can manage those things, then what we're doing is we're well on the way to promoting really good health and well-being for all, really, and not just for some.